The Zarkonian warfleet hung in low orbit, a menacing array of sleek battlecruisers and impossibly advanced fighters. Admiral Kryzax chittered with anticipation as he gazed upon the blue-green orb of Earth below. His mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. Pitiful primitives, he rasped. Their colony on Proxima b fell within days. This homeworld will be no different. If only the Admiral knew what awaited him and his vaunted armada. The humans had a few tricks up their sleeves and more than a little fight left in them. Chapter 1: First Contact. Colonel Jake Hawkins squinted at the grainy satellite feed, his weathered face set in grim lines. "They're making their move, General," he reported, turning to face the wall of screens dominating the underground command center. General Sarah Chen nodded, her eyes never leaving the tactical displays. "About damn time," she muttered. "Sound the alert. Operation Rust Bucket is a go." Klaxons blared throughout bases across the globe. In hangars and motor pools, engines roared to life, but these weren't the precision-engineered marvels of modern warfare. No, what emerged into the light of day were relics from wars long past. M1 Abrams tanks, their desert camo still caked with sand from forgotten battlefields. E-10 Warthogs, their titanium bathtubs ready to shrug off punishment once more. Even venerable B-52 bombers lumbered down runways, their massive frames defying the passage of time. "This is insanity," Major Tom Reynolds whispered, patting the hull of his refurbished Sherman tank. "How are we supposed to fight aliens with museum pieces?" Sergeant Michael Orion just grinned, slapping a fresh belt into his M60 machine gun. "Sometimes the old ways are best, sir. Let's show these ET bastards how we did things back in the day." As the first Zarkonian dropships pierced the atmosphere, humanity's defenders took up their positions. A patchwork army of outdated tech and outgunned soldiers, ready to make their last stand. Chapter 2: Rust and Ruin. The alien assault craft screamed towards Manhattan, their energy shields flickering with iridescent power. Inside the cockpit of his F-4 Phantom, Captain David Maverick Mitchell felt like he'd stepped into a time warp. He half expected to see MiGs on his radar instead of Zarkonian fighters. "Phantom lead to all wings," he called over the crackling radio. "Remember your training. These bastards may have us outgunned, but we've got a few surprises of our own. Weapons free." The sky erupted in chaos. Swarms of Zarkonian craft dove and wove with impossible agility, their energy weapons lashing out in blinding arcs. But the experienced human pilots held their own, relying on time-tested tactics and the raw kinetic punch of old-school missiles. Fox 2 Maverick shouted, his sidewinder streaking away. The alien fighter jinked, its pilot clearly expecting some sort of energy weapon. Instead, the heat-seeking missile slammed home, erupting in a satisfying fireball. "Holy shit," Maverick's wingman exclaimed. "Their fancy shields don't stop good old-fashioned explosives." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the deserts of North Africa, Zarkonian hover tanks found themselves bogged down in sand and mercilessly pounded by dug-in Abrams. The aliens' energy weapons dissipated against the tanks' depleted uranium armor, while 120mm Sabat rounds tore through their targets with brutal efficiency. In the jungles of Southeast Asia, Zarkonian infantry learned the hard way that their adaptive camouflage was useless against Mark I eyeballs and old-school booby traps. Alien medics frantically tried to treat wounds caused by primitive kinetic weapons, baffled by the sheer destructive potential of outdated firearms. Admiral Kryzax's mandibles clacked in agitation as reports flooded in from all fronts. This was not going according to plan. These humans were supposed to be easy prey, not this. "Status report," he bellowed. His subordinate's compound eyes darted nervously. "Sir, we're encountering unexpected resistance. Our energy shields are ineffective against many of their weapons, and their equipment, while primitive, is proving remarkably resilient to our own armaments." Kryzax's claws dug furrows in his command chair. Impossible. How can these savages hope to stand against the might of the Zarkonian Imperium? The answer, as it turned out, was quite effectively. Chapter 3: Turning the Tide. General Chen allowed herself a tight smile as she surveyed the tactical map. Red icons representing alien forces were steadily being pushed back, replaced by the blue of human defenders. "Well, I'll be damned," Colonel Hawkins muttered. "The Rust Bucket Brigade is actually working." Chen nodded. "Sometimes simpler is better. Our older tech may not be as flashy, but it's reliable, easy to repair, and packs one hell of a punch. Plus, we've had centuries to perfect anti-armor and anti-air doctrine. These aliens, they've gotten soft relying on their shields and energy weapons. Reports streamed in from across the globe. In Eastern Europe, a formation of 10 warthogs shredded an alien armored column. The Zarkonian vehicle's shields proved useless against the Gatling gun's depleted uranium rounds, while their own energy weapons barely scratched the warthog's titanium armor. Off the coast of Japan, an alien landing force found itself under withering fire from reactivated Iowa-class battleships. The 16-inch guns, once thought obsolete, proved devastatingly effective against the invaders' shields. In the mountains of Afghanistan, Zarkonian drop troops were ambushed by tribal fighters wielding everything from ancient Lee Enfield rifles to Soviet-era RPGs. The aliens' advanced targeting systems were confounded by simple guerrilla tactics. As the day wore on, a pattern emerged. Humanity's older weapons, while lacking in raw destructive power, proved remarkably effective at bypassing alien defenses. Meanwhile, the rugged simplicity of Earth's obsolete vehicles allowed them to keep fighting long after their alien counterparts had broken down or run out of power. Chapter 4: Counterstrike. Admiral Kree paced the bridge of his flagship, mandibles clicking furiously. This was supposed to be a simple conquest, a chance to prove himself worthy of greater things within the Imperium. Instead, it was rapidly becoming a disaster. "My Lord Admiral," his aide chittered nervously. "We've lost contact with the primary landing force in the region they call Texas the humans appear to have. Overrun the position." Kreezax's eyes bulged. "Overrun? With what?" Sharpened Styx. The aide's antennae drooped. "No, sir. According to the last transmissions, they were using some sort of crude tracked vehicles and projectile weapons that ignored our shields entirely." The Admiral's claws clenched. This couldn't be happening. These primitives, with their fossil fuel-burning monstrosities and chemically propelled slug throwers, were making a mockery of Zarkonian military might. "Enough," he snarled. "Prepare my personal shuttle. I will lead the next assault myself. We'll show these savages the true power of." The bridge rocked violently, alarms blaring. Kreezax stumbled, his exoskeleton scraping against the deck plates. "What now?" he roared. His tactical officer's many eyes were wide with disbelief. "My lord, it's the humans. They've launched a counterattack. Somehow they've managed to get troops into orbit." Impossible. And yet, as Kreezax watched in horror, the impossible unfolded before him. Chapter 5:1 Giant Leap. Bravo 6. This is dust-off actual. You are clear for orbital insertion. Give em hell, boys. Master Sergeant John Rock Stanton grinned inside his retrofitted spacesuit, giving a thumbs-up to his team. Around him, the cargo bay of the hastily modified Space Shuttle Discovery thrummed with nervous energy. "All right, ladies," Rock bellowed. "You heard the man. Time to make history. Again." With that, the bay doors opened, revealing the blue-green curve of Earth below and the sleek shapes of Zarkonian warships above. Rock took a deep breath, said a silent prayer, and leapt into the void. The idea had been crazy enough to work. While the aliens focused their attention on the ground war, a desperate plan had been put into motion. NASA engineers worked round the clock to modify the remaining space shuttles for combat operations. Marine Corps and Air Force pararescue teams trained in frantic simulations, learning how to fight in the unforgiving environment of space. Now, as Rock and his team hurtled towards the nearest alien ship, that training was put to the ultimate test. Mag boots engaged with a satisfying clunk as the team landed on the hull of the Zarkonian cruiser. Rock hefted his specially modified M4 carbine, the attachments looking comically oversized to compensate for bulky spacesuit gloves. "Breach team, you're up," he ordered. Two soldiers hustled forward, fixing shaped charges to what looked like an airlock. The team took cover as best they could on the featureless hull. Boom! The charge detonated silently in the vacuum of space, but Rock felt the vibration through his boots. A gaping hole now marred the perfect lines of the alien ship. "We're in. Go, go, go!" One by one, the team entered the breach, mag boots disengaging as they passed into the ship's artificial gravity field. They found themselves in a corridor of sleek curves and pulsing bioluminescent panels. Rock's helmet comm crackled. Contact left. A pair of Zarkonian warriors rounded the corner, mandibles agape in shock at the human intruders. Their shock was short-lived as a burst of armor-piercing rounds tore through them. "Push forward," Rock ordered. "Engineering is our primary target. Weapon systems secondary. Let's show these bugs what happens when you piss off the core." Similar scenes played out across the Zarkonian fleet as more shuttles made their insertions. The aliens, so confident in their technological superiority, had never considered the possibility of being boarded. Their internal defenses were laughably inadequate against determined human assault teams. Chapter 6: The Fall of an Empire. Admiral Krizax watched in mounting horror as his mighty armada tore itself apart from within. How had it come to this? The bridge viewscreens showed scenes of chaos. Human assault teams, clad in crude spacesuits and wielding primitive projectile weapons, somehow managing to wreak havoc throughout the fleet. Mighty Zarkonian dreadnoughts rolled helplessly, their engines sabotaged. Weapons platforms fell silent as Marines fought their way to fire control centers. A strangled screech escaped the Admiral's throat as he watched his flagship's primary reactor go critical, the result of a daring raid by human sappers. All units, he croaked into the fleet-wide comm. Disengage and retreat. I repeat, full retreat too. The rest of his order was lost as the bulkhead exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris stomped a massive figure in an armored spacesuit, holding what looked to Krizax's panicked mind like a handheld cannon. Admiral Krizax, or however the hell you say it, Rock's amplified voice boomed through the bridge. "By the authority granted to me by the United States Marine Corps and the people of Earth, I'm hereby accepting your unconditional surrender." Krizax's mandibles worked soundlessly as he stared down the barrel of Rock's gun. With trembling claws, he reached for his ceremonial sidearm, only to find an empty holster. The human hefted a familiar-looking weapon in his offhand. "Looking for this, bug boy. Gotta say, it looks meaner than it shoots. Now, you gonna come quietly, or do I get to test if your fancy exoskeleton stops good old-fashioned buckshot?" In that moment, as alarms blared and his crew lay dead or dying around him, the last vestiges of Krizax's arrogance crumbled away. He dropped to his knees, arms raised in surrender. The great Zarkonian invasion of Earth, expected to be a simple subjugation of primitives, ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. Epilogue. A new dawn. The cleanup took months. Wrecked alien ships were towed into stable orbits or allowed to burn up in the atmosphere. Captured Zarkonian soldiers were processed through hastily established POW camps. And all the while, Earth's finest minds pored over the treasure trove of advanced technology left behind by the invaders. 1 year to the day after the failed invasion, a special session of the United Nations convened in New York. The mood was one of cautious optimism as world leaders gathered to chart a course for humanity's future. General Chen, now head of the newly formed Earth Defense Force, took the podium. Her crisp uniform gleamed with well-earned medals as she addressed the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "We stand at a crossroads. The Zarkonian invasion was repelled, but at great cost. Yet from the ashes of this conflict, we have gained something invaluable: unity." She paused, letting her words sink in. For the first time in our history, humanity faced an external threat as one people. We fought not as nations or ideologies, but as Earthlings, and in our victory we have proven ourselves worthy of the stars. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Chen continued, her voice growing stronger. "The Zarkonians' technology has opened new frontiers for us. FTL travel, clean energy, medical breakthroughs beyond our wildest dreams. But more importantly, we now know we are not alone in this universe, and not all that awaits us out there is friendly." She gripped the sides of the podium, leaning forward with intensity. "I propose that we take this opportunity to reach for the stars not as conquerors but as explorers. To build not an empire but a federation, to extend the hand of friendship to those who would be our allies, and to stand strong against any who would threaten our hard-won freedom." The chamber erupted in applause. As Chen stepped back, a holographic display flickered to life behind her. It showed a sleek starship, its lines a blend of human aesthetics and alien technology. Emblazoned on its hull were the words TESS Rust Bucket Pathfinder Class. Humanity's first true starship, Chen announced proudly. A testament to our ingenuity, our determination, and our spirit. With it, we will take our first steps into a larger galaxy. As the applause swelled to a crescendo, few noticed the small group of grizzled veterans gathered in the back of the chamber. Rock Stanton stood with his team, a half-smile playing on his scarred face. "Well, boys," he drawled. "Looks like our job's just getting started. Who's up for one more tour?" In orbit high above, the TESS Rust Bucket's engines flared to life. Humanity's next great adventure was about to begin, and somewhere out in the vast expanse of space, the message broadcast on every frequency. "Come and try us. You know where we are." The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The age of Earth had dawned, and the stars themselves trembled.